amazed, quite frankly. He's got a baseball body.
Matty, who do you got?
I like Geronimo.
Yes.
Guy's an athlete, big, fast, talented.
Top of my list.
Clean cut, good face.
Yeah, good job.
Five tools guy. Good looking ball player.
Can he hit?
Yeah, he's got a beautiful swing, right, Barry?
Ball explodes off his bat.
He throws the club head at the ball, and when he connects, he drives it. It pops off the bat. You can hear it all over the ballpark.
A lot of pop coming off the
And
bat.
it's effort.
If he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good?
He is a good hitter.
Minor leaguer, he'll be ready.
Yeah, so he's going to be a good hitter when we put him up against big league arms.
Could be a great hitter.
I don't think so.
Okay, let's move on. Artie, who do you like?
I like Perez. He's got a classic swing. It's real clean stroke.
I don't know. Can't hit the curveball.
Well, there's some work to be done, I'll admit that,
Yeah,
but
there is.
he's noticeable.
Got an ugly girlfriend.
What's that mean?
Ugly girlfriend means no confidence.
Okay.
Yeah, he passes the eye candy test. He's got the looks. He's ready to play the part. He just needs to get some playing time.
I'm just saying, his girlfriend is a 6 at best.
Look, if we're trying to replace Giambi, this guy could be it.
I agree.
Billy, was that a suggestion?
Guys are just talking. Talking la 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 like this is business as usual. It's not.
We're trying to solve the problem here, Billy.
Not like this, you're not. You're not even looking at the problem.
We're very aware of the problem. I mean,
Okay, good. What's the problem?
look, Billy, we all understand what the problem is. We have to
Okay,
replace...
good. What's the problem?
The problem is we have to replace 3 key players in our
No.
lineup.
What's the problem?
Same as it's ever been. We've got to replace these guys with what we have existing.
No. What's the problem, Barry?
We need 38 home runs, 120 RBIs, and 47 doubles to replace.
The problem we're trying to solve is that there are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50, and then there's us. It's an unfair game. And now we've been gutted. We're like organ donors for the rich. Boston's taking our kidneys. Yankees taking our heart. And you guys are sitting around talking the same old good body nonsense like we're selling jeans. Like we're looking for Fabio. We got to think differently. We are the last dog at the bowl. You see what happens to the runt of the litter? He dies.
Billy, that's a very touching story and everything, but I think we're all very much aware of what we're facing here. You have a lot of experience and wisdom in this room. Now, you need to have a little bit of faith and let us do the job of replacing Giambi.
Is there another first baseman like Giambi?
No, not really.
No.
And if there was, could we afford him?
Nope.
Then what are you talking about, man? If we try to play like the Yankees in here, we will lose to the Yankees out there.
Boy, that sounds like fortune cookie wisdom to me, Billy.
No, that's just logic.
Who's Fabio?
He's a shortstop. He's a shortstop from Seattle.
Now, this is no time to...
Okay, you laughed, so you missed the real punchline. And the other guy standing next to him says, Fabio's a shortstop who plays for Seattle. Oh, my. This is, of course, Moneyball. What a movie this is. It's a baseball movie, just like some of the movies we've been watching here for the last few weeks. But it's also, and probably more importantly, a movie about change. And why change is so hard, but also why change is so important. So this is 2002. This is basically a true story. There's one character that I'm aware of in the movie that's not that's a fictional character, but he's an important character. But this is a true story. 2002. It is the Oakland Athletics, and they have been to the playoffs with some up-and-coming stars. Johnny Damon is one of them. Jason Giambi's another one. And Jason Isringhausen, who is their pitcher. And they got to the playoffs. They got to the first round, and then they lost. And all of these rising stars had made their name in Oakland, and now were leaving for big money contracts with big money teams. They have left. And the Oakland A's have a problem. So what you saw here, this was the war room, the boardroom, and this is the scouting staff, and they are going to work to figure out what they're going to do next. And there's a lot of experience in the room. They've all been doing this for years. There's lots of wisdom in this room. They know baseball inside and out. And so they start this conversation. But the problem with all the wisdom and the problem with all the experiences is that it doesn't take into account of something. And that is the world around them had changed. And what they were doing isn't going to work anymore. They're going to end up in a mess. One after the next. Year after year, it's going to be the same thing. What they used to do is they used to raise up players in the farm system, young players with no names. They'd get them to the point where they'd be in the major leagues. They'd get good enough so that other teams would buy them because of free agency. That was the thing that changed. And as Billy Beane said, we're the last dog at the bowl because there's rich teams, there's poor teams, and then there's us way at the bottom of the heap. And the Yankees are spending $141 million a year, and they're spending $39 million a year. Right? How do you compete with that? Well, I thought about that as I thought about our congregation. And if I were to take a survey today, just hand out pieces of paper, and if I were to ask you to write down what you see as the challenge, the biggest challenges that we face in the coming years, I suspect that the list would look something like this. Worship attendance is stagnant, especially Sunday morning worship attendance. What do we do about that? We've got to do something about worship attendance. And, that's not the problem, okay? Rural population is declining. That's not the problem. People aren't interested in church anymore. That is not the problem. Because what we do in the church is we continue to do things the way we've always done things. The problem is the world has changed around us. Completely and totally. And we're doing things like we did things back in the 80s. And we're all guilty. Present company included. Let me just give you an example. I first came here in March of last year, and one of my first duties was to prepare a pastor's report for the church council. And what do you suppose I did? Went to Shelley and I said, what are they looking for? And so what did she do? She pulled out Pastor Marcia's pastor's reports and Pastor Mark's pastor's reports. And I filled mine out just like they filled theirs out with all the same numbers and all the same information, just like we'd always done before. Okay? Case in point, 2 weeks ago, we had an annual meeting. In the annual meeting, we had a bunch of numbers that talked about our worship attendance. 9 o'clock hasn't changed in years. In fact, it's getting a little smaller in past years. People were surprised about that. Did you notice? I think I pointed it out at the annual meeting. The numbers that were really important, that were really changing, were the numbers that were not on the report. No one thought to put YouTube and Facebook numbers on there. No one even gave it a thought. But that's the growing edge. And we do this. We do this in the church because the church, if nothing else in the world shouldn't change, the church shouldn't change. And we continue to do things just like we've always done things. Not too long ago, I was talking to somebody who works for a national church body. And she was talking about this conference that she was putting together. And it was going to be for churches in rural areas. And the name of the conference was Smaller is Better. Are you kidding me? Well, I said, well, tell me more. And she started to talk about this thing. And as she's talking about it, it sounds just like something I heard when I first became a pastor in 1985 from officials in my own synod. Now, here's the real tragedy. While we're doing that, the world around us has changed. Right outside our doors in this community are people, lots of them. Lots of them. And they're lost. And they're searching. And they're hungry to hear something that will make sense of their lives. Many of them belong to churches. They don't go. When they walk in the doors, they don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they know enough to even come in a pew and worship with us. They don't feel like they're knowledgeable enough about the Bible. They don't feel like they're good enough because they look at us and they think, well, they're in church because they're perfect and I'm not. Boy, do I have a surprise for them. For 1,000,001 reasons, they don't come in. Meanwhile, we check the same stats we've been checking since 1980. We write the same reports. We get together and we talk to the same people and put together the same kinds of programs that we did 35 years ago. And those people are right outside of our door, and they might as well live on the moon. Let's sing. Well, there's nothing new under the sun, I'll tell you that. The lesson that Pam just read, and by the way, you know, if there are some of you out here that are intimidated by the Bible, don't be. Read through it, power through it. Ask me questions. Come and talk to me if you're not sure. If you're uncomfortable even coming to a Bible study because everybody around you knows everything about the Bible and you don't let that stop you. Keep coming back at it because what's in the Scriptures is about your everyday life and my everyday life, and it will make meaning, it will give your life a sense of meaning and purpose and direction like nothing else in this world. And so there's nothing new under the sun, this lesson. Paul is preaching, but if you get to know anything about the book of Acts, this is a sermon like no other sermon that anybody has preached before. Okay? In the past, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Up until just recently, just before Paul preaches this sermon, just a year or two before that, up until that time, Christianity was just a church within a church. It was part of the Jewish church, part of Judaism. All right? And so when they preached to people who knew the Jewish Bible, what we now call the Old Testament, and they knew it inside and out. And they would take passages from the Jewish scriptures and use them as part of their sermons. And when they lived their lives or when they worshiped, they did so using Jewish customs and practices. Okay, so a big deal was, it doesn't sound like a big deal to us, but it was to them, was eating meat from animals that were not strangled. Because if you strangle the animal, then the blood's still in it, and that's offensive to Judaism. So the Jewish custom was to bleed the animal out. You wouldn't think this was a big deal, but what that meant was people who were non-Jews, they were eating the wrong thing, right? All of a sudden, now, if they're eating the wrong thing, they're not good enough to come in here. Okay, see what's happening? And at the time, just before Paul preaches this sermon, a year or two before, the Christian church acknowledged and agreed. It's not just for us as Jews. Christianity's for everyone. But the world had changed around them, right? But they kept doing the same thing in exactly the same way. And Paul comes around. And the lesson that we just read, he's in Athens, in Greece. There's Jewish people there. There's Jewish Christians there. There's a church there. But there's also a lot of people who just don't fit any of those categories. And most of them are worshiping false gods, idols that are all over the city. And these idols are making false promises. You all know what a false god is, right? A false god is something that promises to protect, provide for you, and give your life meaning. But because it's a false god, it can't protect and it can't provide. And in the end, the answers that it has to the meaning of life are empty. And Paul recognizes this and sees this. And he sees lots and lots of people who are in love with the idea of religion. But when they talk about religion, it's an intellectual exercise. It doesn't touch their hearts. And so that sermon that was just read was for them. And Paul does a couple of things here. First of all, he meets them where they are. You'll notice as you read that sermon that there are no references to the Jewish Bible in that sermon. There are lots of references to something called an unknown God, the idols that they're worshiping out there. And what Paul then says is, so he takes them seriously right where they are. And he says, I know you're in love with religious conversations, but here's what it is. This unknown God, I know who this God is. And let me tell you about him. So he meets them where they are. And I am told that this is, in terms of what's in the New Testament, this is some of the most beautiful writing in all the New Testament. Why? Because these people were in love with beautiful language. So he meets them where they are. The second thing he does, he's not afraid to be real with them. And so eventually he gets to the point of saying, this is not just one God amidst all these other idols and all these other gods that are out in front of you. This God is different. Because this is not just an intellectual exercise, and this is not just a promise to relieve you from the physical life with some kind of an eternity that's going to free you from all the troubles and trials of physical life. No. This is about death and resurrection. It's about your life right now. And about how the resurrection of Jesus transforms your life right here and right now with all the trials and all the troubles. This is what Paul's talking about. Now, his Jewish Christian friends are just appalled at his preaching. Wait a minute. You didn't talk about Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel. Where are these things? You're not talking about the things that matter to us. They don't like it very well. But then again, the world around them had changed, but they kept doing the same old thing in the same old way. Now, the people to whom Paul's preaching to, though, some of them are offended. Some of them want to hear more. And some of them believe. It's a mixed bag. But it's a mixed bag brought about by the willingness to abandon old ways and meet the world that has changed around them in a way that makes sense to those who do not know and those who have not heard. Let's sing. So I understand things last week went pretty well while I was gone. Mark Brandt was here, good preacher, right? Great ideas. And you know, there's sort of an ulterior motive by bringing in people like Mark. He's a very good preacher, right? And so the idea here is that eventually, after about 6 or 7 weeks of me, you're going to say, Pastor Dave, you going on vacation sometime? Oh, or even better, hey, Pastor Dave, we put together a little Caribbean thing for you. You can go, yeah, just take off, yeah. Just a little suggestion. So, you know, I listened to Mark's sermon, fabulous sermon, and he talked about the question that, at the end, that all of us should be asking ourselves. And it's the question about God. And, you know, what do you want to do with my life, God, that will be your will for my life? And he was asking that question to each of you individually. And he was asking that question to us as First Lutheran. And for you individually, maybe that's something in your workplace, like the umpire that he was talking about, who saw an opportunity and saw a group of people in his own world, in his own profession, who needed something more, and they developed this prayer group together, this group of umpires that get together. Those of you who are here, if you have not heard the sermon, go on YouTube and listen to it. It's fabulous. And maybe that's a direction you're going to go in your own workplace or someplace in some compartment of your own life. But in terms of First Lutheran, let's talk about that a little bit more today. Because in a few minutes, I'm going to call our elected leadership up front, and we're going to install them. And this coming Tuesday, all of the leadership's going to come together in the evening, and we're going to do a little leadership academy. And this is not going to be, by the way, I'm not preparing a report on Tuesday. It's not going to happen. This is going to be probably very different than anything we've done before, and I hope it is. If it isn't, I want you to tell me, because I don't want this to be me thinking I'm getting away from 1984 when I'm not. And so, you know, I would like us to get started thinking about the future, but also recognizing something very important. The world around us has changed. And if we continue to do things the way we've always done things, the tragedy continues. Lost people, hungry people, searching people, right outside our door, but they might as well be on the moon. And so I'd like to put 3 premises in front of you today. First premise is this: Jesus changes lives. And as Jesus meets people, he gives them a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, a sense of comfort, and a sense of hope that they otherwise would not have. Now, you all already know that that's true because you're here and you've heard it and you keep coming back because it gives you direction, it gives you purpose, it gives you a sense of hope and peace. I mean, I have watched this congregation, and when I get done with a sermon, y'all are weeping. And it's not necessarily because the sermon is bad. Maybe it is sometimes. But it's because God has used a few meager words from this preacher's mouth to touch the deepest places of your soul. And when you leave here, you're refreshed and you're renewed. And you know why you're on the planet in this place called Algona, Iowa. First proposition. Jesus changes lives. Second proposition. I believe that we at First Lutheran are here to introduce people to Jesus. It's the bottom line. That's why we're here. We're not a society. We're not a country club. We're here to introduce people to Jesus. And I will tell you that when it comes to decision making and planning, we get that one straight. The decisions make themselves. The budget takes care of itself. The numbers all take care of themselves. But it's also going to require us to rethink the way we do and see everything. So if we're doing something and it's not introducing new people to Jesus, it either needs to change or go. And if we are spending all of our time combing over the same old numbers and doing the same old thing and worshiping in the same old way, and we notice that everything is still stagnant, time to relook, time to rethink. And I will tell you that as our leaders plan and prepare and look at these kinds of new directions, you can take all your years of wisdom and all your years of experience as a church member at First Lutheran and put it on the shelf. Because I can tell you, just like that boardroom at the Oakland A's, all the years of wisdom and all the years of experience are just going to get in the way. Some of these ideas that come back may sound crazy. Some of them might even sound threatening. But, proposition 2, we are here to introduce people to Jesus. Proposition 3. As that happens, as we do what we are called to do, Jesus changes us. They change us. Our world, our life, our sense of direction and purpose takes on brand new facets that we never dreamed possible. And that's what it means to be a part of something larger than yourself. So, elected leadership, come on up. And actually, I don't want you to come to the front. I want you to stand in the middle here, right in the center aisle. Just right on down the aisle. We're going to do something a little different today. This is going to be like totally un-Lutheran. All right? Here we go. So first of all, boy, you guys, it's like kindergarten. You're all in a line. All right, folks, I want you to see these. I want you to see our leaders, and I want you to know who they are, because they're going to be coming back to you, and they're not only going to be planning and preparing, but they're going to be your coaches. And they're going to ask for your prayers, and they're going to ask for your support. And it's not them doing the work, it's us doing the work together. So I'd like all the rest of you to stand. Stand up. And I would like you to get in as close as you can, and I want you to lay hands on these people, okay? And if you can't lay hands on these people, put a hand on these people. Put a hand on the person who's putting a hand on the person. There we go. Here we go. Yeah, it's like completely un-Lutheran, isn't it? Sorry. Can we do this? Really? All right. Let's all pray. Heavenly Father, help us to see other ways. Help us to, Lord, to forget about the doors and who comes in and who goes out, but think about the people who are outside those doors and the way we might reach them and introduce them to you. Lord, we thank you for these leaders. We thank you for all of the gifts that they bring to the table. And we ask, Lord, that as you bless them, that they would in turn, with their leadership, be a blessing to this congregation. And this congregation would in turn be a blessing to Algona. In your name we pray. Amen. And all God's people said amen. Let's sing.